What's up, everybody? It's your coach on a beautiful Monday here in Miami. This weather's insane. What a coincidence. Championship day today, Final Four. Judge is going to decide earlier today if universities should pay college players to pay. So pay to play. So that will change everything for the college athlete. It will be insane if that goes through. Luckily for you athletes, family of athletes, or people that are around the sport, today we're going to have on the show Janet, who is one of the best IP attorneys, now NIL attorney in the country. She's crushing it. She has athletes all over the place. She has one in the Final Four. She has people that are crushing it. She's doing amazing, and she's on the show today. She shares her insights. Basically, guys, if you don't pay in the beginning for help, you're going to pay at the end. So anybody that's looking to go to college and make some money off of being who they are and their name and their IP and their brand and the whole thing, this episode's for you. Also, want to give a big shout out to our sponsors. Number one, my guys over at BMW Chapman. BMW Chapman, yes, they're in Chandler, Arizona, but they'll get the car anywhere. Like I got my car in Miami and they're there, so I would definitely check out BMW Chapman. My boy there, Shane, is the man. That's number one. Also, big shout out for getting me in shape, by the way. Sativa Life. Here in Miami, they have locations in South Miami. They have one in the beach, Sunny Isles. They're amazing. Health, strength, recuperation, everything. The works, IV infusion, this, that, ozone therapy, whatever you need. They got TRT replay, you name it. So big shout out Sativa Life. Check them out. Newest sponsor, my brother. I try to stay away as much as I can because it's summertime's coming up. I don't want to blow up here. But Steve's Pizza, Cutler Bay, amazing. Steve's Pizza, Cutler Bay, amazing. My guy Ryan is the best pizza person in South Florida, definitely in South Dade. Crushing it from Cutler Bay through the Homestead, Palmetto Bay if you're closer. So Steve's Pizza, Cutler Bay, check them out. Best pizza in town, lunch specials, you name it, all across the board, everything. I like pepperoni now. Pepperoni, crispy, double cut, gets me all day. So big shout out for Steve's Pizza, Cutler Bay, sponsor of the show. Without further delay, Janet, NIL, get paid, get covered. Either you pay at the beginning, guys, or you pay at the end. Somehow you pay. It's your coach. Let's go.
So what's your podcast?
The Coach HP Show.
I love it. Coach HP.
HP,
I like it,
what
man.
a vibe. You got a great vibe going on. We're happy we can meet you.
Great energy.
Let's do it.
Here we go. What's up, everybody? It's your coach. Welcome to the number one positivity podcast on the internet right now, the Coach HP Show. And today I have the number one, right, Janet? The number one,
baby.
number one IP/NIL attorney. Is that correct?
That's me.
That's you, huh? Janet, before we start, one question I had is, what mistakes, number one mistake you're seeing kids make now is what?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think the number one mistake that I'm seeing young athletes and influencers engage in is not having counsel look at agreements before they sign them. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at contracts for athletes and influencers that are, when they're giving away more than they've realized, right? Or they don't understand the long-term consequences of a deal. Words like perpetuity, irrevocable, those types of words have major impacts on what you can do long-term. And lots of times, athletes and influencers are excited about, a free promo gift or something in the short term, not thinking about how that contract is going to have long-term implications on their revenue stream in the future. So I think that's the number one thing that I'd say is a mistake that I see athletes and influencers making. But there are others. I think
is the excitement of it, Janet, is that what gets these kids going? The excitement of saying, hey, look, I'm doing something?
I think it's the excitement. I think it's the newness of the space, right? So, NIL, which stands for name, image, likeness, it's not a new concept. NIL has been around for hundreds of years. And when you think about NIL, typically that's related to professional athletes or celebrities, right? So like Michael Jordan and Air Jordans, that's an NIL deal. That's simply applied to a professional athlete, right? When I was younger, the big deal was appearing on a Wheaties box, right? That's an NIL deal.
Right.
That's been around. The difference is that name, image, likeness, or the term NIL is now being applied to athletes, student athletes, amateur athletes that were historically prohibited from participating in endorsement deals, right? So I think first of all, we're dealing with the younger class of people that are being offered these deals, right? Younger student athletes that don't have experience in the business world. And the newness of it and the excitement, people just want to get a deal. And they're not really thinking about what that means for their future. They're looking at the short term.
How impactful or how helpful are the parents? Are the parents almost as delusional or gun crazy like the kids? Like, yeah, let's get this going. Are the parents involved at all in your experience? How's that relationship looking in this thing?
I mean, the parents typically have to be involved because they're minors, right? For the most part, when we're talking about high school athletes or sometimes even college athletes. But, I think parents are involved. Again, I think the most important thing is that student athletes and their parents need to think about NIL as a business, right? NIL is a business. And so as you think about any business, there are things that you have to do in order to maximize the value of that business, right? There are steps you need to take. You need to get the right team in place, right? And a business does not operate without the right team. Same thing with NIL. You got to get experts in their field to help that student athlete navigate the complexities of what an endorsement deal is. And plus you're dealing with, on the other side of endorsement deals, you've got the student athlete and the parent who typically don't have experience. And then you have very sophisticated companies with very sophisticated legal teams drafting those agreements. So who do you think is going to have the better end of that deal, right? It's going to be the people drafting the deal.
It's the people that have the Janets on their team. Whoever has the Janets on their team wins.
That's correct. Yes. I mean, and my experience, my experience as a trademark attorney actually prepares me for this because as a trademark lawyer, I've been dealing with brands for 22 years. I've been dealing with brands for startups to major corporations to sports teams. I help them protect, navigate brand deals, and then enforce them. So I have the unique perspective of having been in the brand space for a really long time and being able to know what is negotiable, where the pain points are, and really how to help navigate that and get the most out of a deal for a student athlete or an influencer, which is really what they are, right?
Right. Question for you.
Yeah.
How does somebody get a hold of somebody like you? What are the steps? Talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, number one, they can contact me at janet@caldera.law, and that's CALDERA.law. Our website is www.caldera.law. And, I would look for someone as a student athlete or as a parent. I would look for someone with experience in entertainment, sports, contract negotiation, intellectual property, all of these things. Like I said, this law has been around. Right. It's been around for decades. People that are saying they're experts in NIL and started 2 years ago when the rules changed, that's not an expert in my opinion.
Right.
Because the laws have been here. It's just the application is different. It's to a new set of folks, and trying to keep up with the NCAA rules. is a challenge. So like having someone who's well versed in understanding what the laws and the rules are that are in play, and someone who has long time experience in negotiating endorsement deals, that's who you want to look for.
So Janet, so how I'm looking at this is, because I've had a couple of deals like this myself, but in the past, literally, I get it. I get the offer. Here comes the excitement, right? Okay.
Yeah.
After the excitement settles down, I need to talk to a Janet right now. Let's role play here. So I call up Janet. I go, look, Janet, I got this new offer. I'm super excited. Take a look at this and let me know what you think. Give me examples of what are pitfalls, what are things to avoid. Is it what they own of you? Is it long term? Navigate me through there.
Okay, so what I would say are some of the major pitfalls to look for in contracts that you're receiving, right? Number one is this concept of perpetuity, right? That means forever, right? And I don't know about any deal that you can negotiate forever without paying a price for that forever, right? So if you're gonna sign a deal that says it's forever, make sure that the value to you is there. Right. I'm not saying that you can't sign that deal. I'm just saying that the dollars have to make sense with the long-term aspect of it. Right.
Got it.
So that's one. Number two is exclusivity. Right. So let's say you sign a sneaker deal today and that sneaker deal is an exclusive. Well, that means you can't sign another sneaker deal, even though another sneaker company could come to you tomorrow with millions of dollars. Right. So again, exclusivity, it's great if you're compensated fairly for it. Right. If there's perhaps now let me take a step back, because what I don't want to suggest is that everyone's going to be getting 6-figure, 7-figure NIL deals. That is not the reality of the situation. Okay. Not everyone is a Shedeur Sanders. Not everyone is a Caitlin Clark. Okay. 9 times out of 10, that's not happening. So, but what you can do is take steps so that if those opportunities ever come up and you're doing the things to set up your brand in a particular way, you're not locked in by some bad deal you signed your first year of college, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So these are the things that you need to look for: exclusivity, perpetuity. I would say another one is ownership of your NIL. Right? What the company is able to do with your NIL and for how long. Because a lot of times companies will try to own rights for a long period of time and control the use of your NIL, which takes away the control, your own control over your own name, image, and likeness, right? So to me, it's about controlling your name, image, likeness, creating opportunities for the future, not locking yourself into deals that might not serve you in 5 years, that kind of thing. Because the contracts, while you may be in high school for 4 years, while you may be in college for 4 years, a lot of these deals go beyond that, right? They may not even be in compliance with your high school athletic association rules, the NCAA rules. We got to take a look at all of those things while looking at the contract, which again goes back to my earlier point of having a team in place that knows how to navigate these things and can give you the best advice. I know not everyone wants to pay for their counsel. People don't want to pay for attorneys. This is an investment, just like when you go to the doctor and you get your annual checkup, right? You go because you want to make sure your stuff is in order, right? Right. You go to legal counsel to prevent bad things from happening, right? It is proactive. It is taking steps to ensure, hey, I'm going to enter this deal and I'm going to feel comfortable that when I sign this deal, I understand it. I'm not locked into something that I want to get out of, right? That's what counsel is there for. So I'm just going to go back to that. It doesn't have to be me, but it should be someone like me.
Absolutely. Now, here's a funny situation. So you, as the mother of a 5-star recruit athlete that is probably going to have a couple, hopefully a lot of these opportunities, how do you talk to your son about this? Like, are you preparing him? Is this something you even think about? Where do you split the mom hat with the attorney hat? Talk to me about that process. And it happens to be a football player, which is probably the most lucrative, sought after sport. So talk to me about that.
Well, I'm the mom of two student athletes. One is a middle school baseball player. And the second is a high school football player who, as a result of being older, has gotten a lot of attention at this point. He's a 4-star. I'm expecting that 5th star any day now.
What makes it different? Hold on one second. What makes it difference between 4-star and 5-star? I have no idea.
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I really don't. He has more than 25 Division I offers at this point. So he's positioned himself very well. And so for me as a parent and also as a brand strategist, right? I've been thinking about this for years because I was looking at this, number one, from the perspective of protecting influencers, right? And looking at it from, well, why can't student athletes be influencers? Why is there a prohibition against that when everybody else is an influencer? You have 10-year-olds gaming, you have all kinds of YouTubers, but yet there was an exclusion just for student athletes thanks to the NCAA, right? That has now changed. So I was paying attention to this because I was like, why can't my kids benefit from becoming a famous YouTuber, right? So I'm watching this as a parent. I started very early on with protecting domain names. So when they were born, I registered their names as domain names.coms, right? Because I know someone else might have their name. And if someone else has their name and gets it first, it's going to be very difficult for me to go get that, right?
Nice.
It's going to be challenging. So that's one little thing that parents can do right out the gate. Go register your kid's name, kid's nickname as domain names. $10 a year, best money you'll ever spend, right? So that's one thing. From that perspective, understanding sort of some of the little things that you can do, right? Domain names is one. I created a website for my older son. So he's got a website where he has his content on there so that if people are looking for him, they can go to one spot and find his grades, his highlights, things about him. But not only does that website provide valuable information, it also creates the type of use that allows me to secure a federal trademark registration.
Nice.
And so now he has a registered name. His name is registered as a trademark. Now, what does that do? Number one, if someone else files a similar name, it's going to create an issue for that second filer, right? So if someone tried to misappropriate my son's name, that would now be blocked, right? Number two, it creates credibility, right? Now he can put a R in a circle next to his name. And what that does from a brand perspective, from a corporate brand perspective, is that we're taking this seriously. We're doing the right things to set up his brand. We're looking at that as a business, right? And that makes other brands who are interested in perhaps negotiating an NIL deal know that we are looking at this as a business, which is very important because it is business. Brands don't want to link up with influencers that don't take this seriously, right? Because that's going to reflect poorly on them ultimately. Right?
Absolutely. I have a question for you. How did you feel doing what you're doing? Did you see what's happening with the new Snow White?
No.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on with that?
No.
So there's a new Snow White. You know how Disney now started to, which I'm sure you being in this thing, this would probably be a nightmare if this was your client. So Disney remade Snow White. Like, you know how Disney's doing like live animations?
Yes. Yeah.
So they did it with Snow White.
I did know that, yes.
But the Snow White is out of control. The girl who pretty much acted like the actress who played Snow White just trashes the whole legacy of Snow White, trashes that, independent woman, very woke, very whatever. And she pretty much tanked the whole film herself. Like, this came out to the worst opening of any Disney movie ever because she just, left everybody a bad taste in her mouth, right? I'm sure you as in representing, and she's 20 years old. So that maybe has something to do with it, But how do you now like become a firefighter when you're representing somebody and they're doing something. I don't know if that's happened to you in the past. I'm sure it has to have happened some way or form. Do you like have that as part of your agreement? Like, hey, look, if you get out of control with this is your thing. How do you deal with that?
Well, let me go back to your earlier question about how I've dealt with it from the brand perspective and from being a mom, right?
Okay.
Because these are conversations that I have with my kids, right? Number one, do you want NIL deals, right? Do you want to try to get NIL deals? Because if you do want to get those deals, then you need to present yourself in a certain way.
Absolutely.
You can't, there are things you're going to have to do. And I've gone to my kid's page and taken stuff down that I didn't think was appropriate for him to publicly, display.
Right.
So those are conversations that I have. And I think it's important that if you're going to go down this road, again, this is business. So you've got to conduct yourself in a business-like fashion, right? Whatever that is. So I think that's an important conversation to have. I think, in terms of endorsement deals, right? A lot of times there are provisions in there that discuss morality, right? They're called morality provisions. So they basically say that if you conduct yourself in a way that they view as being poorly reflective on the business, they can terminate, right? So you try to negotiate those as well to restrict them a little bit so that they're not so favored to the company, but we understand that the company has a reputation that it's trying to protect, right? So there's got to be some restriction on the influencer or the athlete to get them to act basically in line with corporate standards, whatever those are. So I think, the gist of that would be treat this like a business, act in a manner that's going to reflect well on you. Again, this is if you want to get into this space. If you don't care about NIL, then, whatever.
Keep doing what you're doing.
My suggestion is have two accounts. One that's public facing, one that you can have with your friends, right? If you're a young kid. That way you can do things on your own. It's private. But, what I say to my kids is like, whatever you put out there, just know that at some point in time, all of that can come back to you. All of it.
Absolutely.
You think that you trust somebody, someone's your friend today, they might not be your friend in 5 years. So whatever you're saying online, make sure that it's something that you wouldn't be embarrassed about 10 years from now.
That's smart. Yeah, that's the new generation stuff that you have to deal with,
Yeah.
and for a young age it's hard. It's really hard.
Challenging. It's horrible.
Yes.
I'm glad I did not grow up in that time. But it's difficult to navigate, and it's something you can only say this to your kids so much. You don't know how much of that they actually absorb from you. But I think just repeating the message, letting them know the importance of these things is really key to setting up your brand for success in the future.
Janet, can you share with us any deal, if you can, or any client that you're very proud of anything you've done?
Well, I don't typically share my
past?
data. Yeah, I mean, I've worked with several professional sports teams in Miami. I currently have a female young athlete who's in the Final Four as of
Nice.
last night, and working with a professional NBA player on some branding stuff now as well. So that's what I
Nice.
have currently on my plate. Yeah.
Is there a sport that you like better than the other, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, of course, I'm biased. I have a football and a baseball player, but
Right.
I really love women's sports, and I love how NIL has sort of leveled the playing field when it comes to the opportunities available to women. So I proudly represent female athletes as well.
That's awesome. That's really good. When you look at now the future, right? Because now it seems like the NCAA is always trying to balance out how much money they give. Now these schools are getting way too much money. They want to put like a salary cap because it's out of control. What do you think about all that for the future?
Oof. I mean, I think, I think it's important to understand, how collectives are evolving, right? But also understanding bigger picture, how student athletes are currently earning money, right? So there's essentially like three buckets that I would say. First, there's what we traditionally call endorsement deals. So that's direct player to brand, whether it's promoting a drink on Instagram or making an appearance at a business or launching their own clothing line or collabing with somebody. That is an NIL deal, right? Then there's school driven opportunities, right? So maybe there's a licensing for a video game, right? Where they're doing a group team licensing, or maybe the school is paying student athletes to do promos for certain games or something like that. So there's brand to student athlete, there's school to student athlete, and then there's collectives. And collectives have sort of been operating like the wild, wild west, right?
Right.
It's like it is pay to play, essentially, is what collectives generally have been. There's been no regulation on collectives. They've done things in a manner to skirt NCAA rules. But I think there is a place for NIL collectives. And I think the place is going to be more regulated. I think it's going to be more injecting funds into schools for purposes of then delivering that student athlete to school revenue stream. But I think that there is a space for collectives. I think it's just going to change. And I don't know what that looks like. I think ultimately it'll be more structure. I think more professionalism in terms of like legitimate contracts being placed in front of student athletes, not sort of like these shaking hand deals that have been happening. But actually like writing things down, having enforceable agreements, again, having stronger partnerships with the schools. So I think over the next couple of years, we're going to see that evolve.
Janet, I would think the only objection to bringing on somebody like you is that people don't want to pay, right?
Yeah, exactly. But
so
you know what?
Pay now or pay later, one of the two.
That is what I say all the time. It's always more expensive later. It's
yeah.
always more expensive later.
Absolutely.
So doing things from the beginning creates cost efficiencies because, we'll understand the brand. We'll know what you're doing. We'll know what to negotiate. You always pay for it. It's either you pay for it at the beginning and do things the right way, or you pay for it at the end by trying to recapture the things that you've lost by entering a bad deal. That is my biggest takeaway is, negotiate your prices with an attorney. If they're willing to help you, then negotiate, be your best advocate, but get counsel. The other side has counsel. You should have counsel.
Absolutely.
Student athletes, what I would love to impart is the importance of, again, having your team in place. Just like you're on a team, having your team of advisors is key, right? Whether that be a tax person, right? NIL money is not free money, guys. It's not free. You don't get to pocket. You don't get to pocket that and then say, buy IRS. No, you got to pay taxes on that.
You got to pay tax on that. Yeah.
So getting an accountant, getting an attorney, maybe getting an agent to help you secure deals, those three people make up what I call a full team. But yeah, I just, what I hope to impart is that number one, you're the talent, right? So right there, you have leverage. Number two, the more student athletes that understand some basic principles, the better as a collective this is going to be for
Absolutely.
For everyone, not just one person. But the more student athletes are informed about what is and is not negotiable, the better everyone will be in negotiating with brands. So that's what I hope, is that they are empowered with information so that they can approach every brand deal with more information,
I love that.
More tools in their toolbox.
I love that. Janet, before I let you go, I always ask the guests, any questions for me or anything I could help you with?
Oh my gosh. I would love to know how you first started this podcast.
I started it based off of, I always feel that there's a void to get filled by somebody. And I have a very unique way of being curious and connecting with people and seeing certain things. Like one thing, when I saw your son's page,
Yeah.
I noticed, like, one of the things I noticed that we didn't even talk about, he's a great communicator. Like, he's interviewing the other players on the field, and he's really good at that. So things like that. And I always wanted to find a way to meet new people. Some people have been really famous, and I've still tried to encourage them, like, man, you should do this, you should that, only because I felt like I've lived and had the foresight, and I've never really worried about, oh my God, does my podcast do good or does it do that? As long as it helps one person in any particular spot, it's been my thing. So that's what led me to do this. And I think at some capacity, Janet, I'll always do this because to me, it's a privilege to have a conversation with somebody like you, get to get your knowledge, get to share that to the world. There's certain people already that I'm like, man, if they don't have somebody, I'm going to put her in contact with you or put them in contact with you, because it could only, good information around good people could only help society.
Agreed. I really believe that, like, you know, I think we're similar in the sense that we want to genuinely help people. Obviously I need to make a living. So, that's one thing we all do, but
Right.
I try to do and put out as much information as possible because it's so important for me to empower student athletes. I have two babies myself, and I look at them and I look at their peers, and I really want to be mama bear and protect them all. And, I know, and this is not, I'm not trying to put companies down, but they're negotiating from a power position.
Absolutely.
Right? They have the means and the resources and the teams in place. And my goal is really to just help student athletes understand that they also need a team. They need support. You can't just sign anything without reviewing it. You don't know what these things say. Don't go on Google and ask ChatGPT.
No, you can't do that.
Please don't. Please don't.
Don't do that.
Please.
Janet, once again, where can the people find you?
Janet, you can email me at janet@caldera.law. And that's spelled CALDERA.law. My office number is 305-967-7450. That is not my cell phone. That's given to clients only, but you can call my office.
There we go.
And yeah, that's it.
Janet,
or through you, Hector.
This was awesome. This was great. We're excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm very happy you've decided to do this, and I think you're going to help a lot of people. Okay, don't leave. I'm going to say bye to you the right way. Don't leave.
Okay, cool.